What's up, my weirdos? It's Saira, and we are back this week with a summary episode, meaning Megan and I are breaking it down with the best pieces of advice from the last three. So, not to worry if you happen to skip one of the last three fabulous episodes with Nina, Denise, or Dr. Gerner. But I'm excited for you to tune into this one as we pull out the best pieces and let you know our final thoughts. So without further ado, let's go.
Yeah. Gosh. It took how many hours in Sephora for them to find a nude for your skin?
It took so long that when I got back to the car, Nick was like, "Did you go like shopping?" And I was like, "Well, I got my nude lipstick." And he was like, "It took you 2 hours to get one lip color."
I think it's time to leave Colorado. Good God, woman.
Yeah, it's time. I'm ready. I feel like I'm ready. And being in California and I was bopping back and forth and traveling so much these last few weeks. Have we talked since I got married? Is this like our first recording post wedding? Like obviously we've talked, but like this is the first time we've chatted since I got married, right?
Yes, you are a married woman now.
For better or worse.
Do you feel older? Like I feel like you would be a matron of honor now,
I mean, I'm not like mad about that. I mean, I don't know. I think this was the riskiest decision that I have ever made. And I think it ties in well to what we're going to talk about today, only because I genuinely believed after all of honestly, the crap that I went through in my last marriage that I was like, I'm done. I'm mailing it in. And I was super confident in just wanting to be alone and like dating and ruining a bunch of men's lives since one had done such a good job of ruining mine. But yeah. I took a huge risk and I'm learning that it's a whole process to just lean back into marriage and like really want it again.
Yeah.
But this time I'm actually putting forth the work, right? So
of course, not that you didn't before, but yeah, but it's all about balance, which is also what we're going to talk about today, which is just how do we continuously try to find it? And I think that's what's so poignant about this first series for the both of us, because you and I have trouble finding balance, finding the right job that's going to give us that balance without, taking a back seat. That's hard, especially as women, right?
Well, yeah. And that's something Nick and I are always iterating on, because I don't want him to have to take a backseat at his job. And I know you don't want Taylor to have to take a backseat at his job either. And it's like, there's push and there's pull. And, how many vacations do we take? Do we hang out with one side of the family or the other, depending on which vacation it is? And like, what do we spend our money on? Are we going to start co-investing together? What does all of that stuff look like at scale? Like we say at scale at our companies, but like, do you talk about what scale looks like for your partner? Like Nick's eyes popped out of his forehead when I was like, we're going to start doing real estate investing together. And he was like, what does that even mean?
Yes. Oh my God. It's wild. But I think, to be honest, and we can get into it in like the actual, meat of this episode. These 3 episodes, I definitely listened back to and acted on actively. And I think we should totally talk about it. But they were super informative for me in just my journey. And I imagine people that are listening to this feel the same way. They're like, God, I always feel like an imposter. How do I work through that? Or my gut is telling me I should take this risk, but my head is saying like, absolutely don't do anything. You're safe, secure, and fine. And then, the dream is to have it all, which does anyone? I don't know.
I think that's a perception though.
Well, should we take a quick break and then post-mortem this?
Post-mortem. Let's do it. Let's take a break. You can tell how tired I am.
It's good. It's good. It's sensual. It's sensual.
Sensual? Is that like your way of saying
Yes.
I sound like ASMR? Should I scratch my mic a little bit?
Yes. You know what? I really got to stop saying that because now when I'm scrolling through TikTok, like all the live ones is just like girls with really long nails, like scratching a microphone. I'm like, this is getting a little creepy. I feel a little odd, you know? Like, I don't know. It's kind of weird.
I always feel
I'm not
odd,
into
but
it.
I like feeling that way. We got a weird piece of feedback on this podcast that I actually love, and it's that somebody loves that we call everyone our weirdos, because everybody is like everybody's a little bit of a weirdo. And I feel like some of these subjects are weird, so I like calling people weirdos, and I take it as a compliment. So shout out to the people that have said that to us, because I personally am proud of my weirdos.
Well, because we're weirdos.
And we have an army of weirdos. We have a weirdo army.
I want everyone to know that being a weirdo is cool. Like, I never thought that when I was little, right? Like, people would look at us and be like, oh, you know, Saira was class president and Megan played all the sports in the world to try to, you know, be cool and normal. But really, we were like deep down weirdos, you know, like listening to like weird music in our bedrooms.
And I also, BTW, like when I did all the things and all of the clubs, I don't know. It was like the dorky stuff. Like I wasn't cool. So I mean, I don't think most people like admitting that, but like I definitely was not cool in high school. I just had, you know, my handful of friends and homework.
Who was cool? No one wanted to peak in high school, though, you know? Like, if you
there were
peaked in
people
high
that
school.
enjoyed peaking in high school. Let's be honest.
No. But after high school, you don't want to be like, I peaked in high school. You know, like I peaked in college. I was like, I'm coming into my own. Like I had some weird, awkward, you've seen the photos.
You did not peak in
Childhood.
college though. No, I've seen the photos. But you didn't peak in college either. Listen, I have not yet peaked, okay? You are doing all kinds of crazy stuff at your large company, and I am, we just talked about it. I just got interviewed by the Wall Street Journal, and I am very few moments in my life have I been that proud of myself and like excited for the future. So
Oh my God, I am so shallow. I literally was talking about my looks peaked in college.
all right, so let's jump onto this subject. Let's talk about balance, Megan McShane.
Oh my God, I need some balance in this talk. All right. So first episode that we had, which was so good. So on how to unlock your potential, which what a great name. Who's our writer? But you know, what an amazing topic and an amazing woman to bring in. So Dr. Julie Gerner, who you used in executive coaching. Many people, when I've been telling people about the episode, I'm like, go listen to it because I don't think everyone can really access Julie the way that we did during that conversation. You know, she has clientele, she has people that are executives. I'm not an executive. I don't know if she would even, you know, necessarily take me on. So it's almost like behind the scenes of like, how are the people that have a seat at the table starting to understand and unpack how they unlock their potential, which is super interesting and cool.
I mean, and I don't know if there was something you took away that you really feel empowered on, but one of the things that I took from that episode, Meg, that really resonated with me, and if it's one piece of advice that I could give everybody that's listening, it's to not only find your tribe and find other people within your circle that can help encourage you and like push you forward, and you know, talk about how you didn't peak in college. And by the way, you also didn't peak looks wise in college. Like that's also not true. But also just like find other women that you share ideologies with and that you can then add to your own persona and your own like schema, right? Like I am continuously in search of more women that inspire me, more men that inspire, like more people generally that can help me build my voice and my ideologies and like really really make that foundation of who I am as a person, the strong woman that I would like to be. So that was the one thing that I took away from Dr. Gerner. Like, you should always seek other people that have that similar voice that you can then project forward and like really accelerate yourself.
Yes. Oh, I do remember that now, like thinking back to it, because it was such a long time ago, because we're so organized this season, which is great. But God, like we were like, yeah, like celebrating each other. I mean, you remember, I mean, you and I have had this conversation a lot. Mostly me just being like, is this normal? But when you have these queen bees in a work environment, right? And they come in and they're like, I own this and there's no space for other women. There's only space for me. And I think a lot of people can feel that way. And to me, it just kind of like, it grits on me where I'm like, why the hell would we try to knock each other down when we're here to, when there's enough space for all of us? God, I just remember us talking about that like so many times. I mean, how many jobs have I had? Let's be real. It's a lot. So we've had this conversation a multitude of times about just those women that kind of bring each other down. And we've never been that way. And I love that about us. Like, we're amazing.
I think that is the impetus. Not impetus is probably the wrong word. That is I think that's one of the pieces that every woman or man or or whomever you are, every person needs to contemplate as they become a leader. It's not how can I cut other people down? It's how do we all rise up together? And that's something, again, like that's like a driving factor to me. That's one of the reasons that I want to listen to people that can elevate me, because if I'm listening to other people that are elevating me, and then I'm also listening to other people that are, whether they're significantly ahead in their career or not, I feel like that is how I can drive other people forward myself. Like, what is it? A rising tide raises lifts all ships, right?
All lifts all
Lifts all
boats.
boats. Yeah, it's I don't know, and that's
Sure.
something that I try to actually embody at every company that I work at. I know that I'm pushing that really hard at HMB right now. I think that other women should be trying to do the same thing, right? That was the whole premise of the article in the Wall Street Journal. Like, I didn't just ask to get my eggs frozen. I wanted everybody else at my company to get their eggs frozen as well if they wanted to, or whatever form of fertility assistance they needed, regardless of gender. Like, that is the kind of stuff that we need to start pushing for as leaders at our respective companies. Like, how can you help other people become better leaders as just simply by being who you are? And that was one of the ways that I saw it at my company. And that's like the question that I keep asking myself, like, how can I push other people forward to do similar things for others where it doesn't cost you a thing? It's literally just opening your mouth and saying, this is something that we need.
Preach. Seriously, though.
Right?
No, yeah. I mean, I think that's amazing. And I mean, I've celebrated you a lot offline, but online, I've gushed over you. Sometimes, like, I feel like we're sisters. And I'm like, you're the older one. So you're the older sister. Sorry. Sometimes. But where I was just like gushing over you. And I was like, girl is like my homie. Like, how cool is this? Like, we all aspire to be this, but let's all like rise her up and like say, you were in the Wall Street Journal. Like, my dad reads that every day. You know what I mean? Like, established career.
Did your
men.
dad high five me? Like I want to know what Papa Purcell said.
He texted me. He also doesn't listen to this, so it's fine. But he texted me and he said, what, when did Saira's article come out? And I sent it to him and he was like, oh my God. I'm like, because he gets the Wall Street Journal every day. He's a layman. He just like gets an actual paper. And so how cool is that? Like, that's amazing. So just kudos.
Yeah. And that's the thing though. I think the more you do that kind of stuff, the more likely you are to accelerate. I don't know. It's like, again, like, and that's that I think is the point. Like, the more you push yourself forward and the more you elevate others, the more likely you are to push yourself forward even further. Like, my career would not be where it is if it was not for the hundreds of thousands of humans that have helped me get here. Like, there's no There's no forgetting that. And Dr. Gerner is most certainly near the top of that list, frankly, because she was the one that pushed me when I was negotiating, frankly, because she was my executive coach during that time. So I feel like this actually folds into the next episode that we did, which was how to tackle risk with Denise Shull, this incredible human being who has helped, the finance brains of the world, frankly, professional athletes as well. She helps them determine insanely difficult things and pushes them to the next level. And I want to know, Meg, how you view risk now that you have really mulled over some of the stuff that Denise said.
I think I've been right about it this whole time based on what Denise said. Like, I've gotten it right. And I've been insecure so many times listening to other people and not listening to myself when I want to take a risk, right? Don't do that. That's not secure. You won't have a 401k. You won't, whatever, which I shouldn't say on a finance podcast, but whatever. But true, you take a big risk. Sometimes it's financial, whatever. But what I heard Denise say, which is something I pride myself on that will be written on my tombstone, is that I lead with empathy and I lead with my emotions. And a lot of people think, oh God, she's so gullible because she does that and like doesn't, she's trying to lead with her gut. But essentially what Denise told us is lean into, how do I feel? And do I feel good about this? Yes. Then I should do it. And just that be the case. Like, you don't need to explain it. I know I've gotten into cases before where I'm like, but what do you think? And my voice goes up. Like, I'm insecure because I'm so nervous about the perception of a decision I've made to other people. That's kind of what I took away. Is that, my gut is usually right. And I need to lean into that even more and just drop from like kind of my head into my gut more and more and more.
I kind of feel like that's just like the general Megan modus operandi. Like, that is how you function. Like, you negotiate with emotions, you contemplate risk with emotion. Like, I have never, every time we've had a serious debate about anything that is life-changing for you, inflection points throughout your life, whether it was, do I need to break up with your last boyfriend? All of the conversations that we've ever had, you come forward with the emotional side first, and then we talk about the rational stuff after. So, and I don't know. Like we were talking about earlier, the riskiest thing I have done in my life was get married a second time. I continuously take on risk as it pertains to like financial decisions, but that is me like iterating on myself and saying, I am going to buy a whole bunch of JPEGs. Thank you, Ashley Louise. And so, all I'm doing in my brain is adding to my art collection. I think one of the things that I love about the community of people that we have surrounded ourselves with is that you lead with conviction. And that is it's partially like self-confidence, but it's also like owning your power and saying it's okay to be intelligent in an arena and to have other people disagree with you and be like, I think what you're doing is dumb, and for me to still push forward. I don't know. I guess I continuously, when I was growing up, thought that I needed to have the approval of the majority. And I don't always need that anymore because I am much more confident in who I am as a person. And I don't know. I think that's the one thing I took away from Denise. It's like, go with conviction. And as long as you're convinced, who cares what everyone else says?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And like that, the risk percentage, you know what? At the end of the day, we all screw up. We all make mistakes. I have made plenty of mistakes in my life. I made plenty of mistakes transacting, doing trades, executing garbage. And you end up surviving, you end up making it out. So I think the one thing I took away from Denise is that it's okay to make mistakes, and B, it's okay to say that some of the decisions you're making are emotional. And you know what? We as women are significantly intelligent when it comes to our emotions. And frankly, I consider that to be an advantage at this point. So And I definitely think it's
Yes.
an advantage between you and I. That is something that we are experts in.
Yes. Risk. Who would have known? You know? Well, you did. Like from a financial perspective, I feel like you always talk to me about risk.
Yeah, but if you had
But
ever told me that was ever going to have a conversation with an expert and that expert was going to say, hey, by the way, the majority of your decision making is emotionally based, I mean, she would have been laughed off of our trade desk for sure, right? Like to this day, they probably still don't believe in that or understand that. So,
but it makes so much sense. I totally outside of this conversation, but what just sparked for me was the best advice a manager ever gave me, or not even advice. He kind of just told it to me, and God love him for that, you know? We used to go out for smoke breaks, except I didn't smoke, but he did. And I just walked with him while he smoked because I got the best, information and conversation out of it. Because when you're walking side by side instead of sitting at a table, you tend to have better conversations. Right. And so we were sitting there and I was debating making a move inside Microsoft. And I was like, oh, I don't know, and weighing all the pros and cons and whatever. And he looks at me and he goes, look, a risk is a risk is a risk. You're going to wake up tomorrow and think you made a bad decision either way. And then in a month from now, you're going to be like, did I really make the right decision? And you're going to keep questioning yourself. So just kind of go with what you feel like you should do on the day that the risk is happening. And you just kind of flow with it and see what happens. He's like, it is not a death sentence. It's a job. This is when I thought my job is absolutely everything and I will give it all. No, it's about balance and when I'm learning. But that's basically what he was saying. He goes, go in, make money, be smart, go home, have a family, do your thing. I was like, damn, yes, that always comes back to me. So I know a lot of people right now, especially going through the pandemic, a lot of people quit their jobs. A lot of people are contemplating quitting their jobs and taking on a big risk. I think the advice, at least that I would give them, I don't know if you would say this. Yes, be financially secure before you quit, of course. But if you wake up every day and you're miserable, you're absolutely miserable, then maybe it's time for a change and that's okay. And you might be taking on some risk. Do what you think is right because it's your life, Is that ill-advised?
I feel like we're jumping into the balance side of things, which was the interview with Nina here. As well as, and it's layered into with the risk, right? I honestly, if you're, I don't know, what are they calling it? The Great Resignation. If you are unhappy at your job, if you are day to day at a slog, it's finding your passion and trying to lean into it. If you can afford to do that though, right? If you have other things, I mean, there's just so much nuance to that. So, to each their own, but it's something that Nick and I talk about a lot too. And, in terms of balance, I feel like one of the things I'm always pulling apart is how do you have a family from a financial perspective when I know as the woman that the expectation would be that I have to take a back seat. So, one of the things that Nick and I think everyone has different things that they save for. Nick and I are we're going to save up for a night nurse and a nanny because I really want the ability to continue to proliferate my career. I don't want to have to take a back seat. Nick is crushing it right now in his engineering role. And he the both of us are working 7 days a week when we have the energy to do so. And it would be remiss of me for me to turn to him and say, I want you to take a back seat or for me to take a back seat right now because we both want to accelerate, but we also want to have kids. And I think there is a push and a pull there in terms of both taking the risk and saying, are we ready to have kids or do we want to wait even longer? And then there's also the balance aspect, do we want to have the balance between family life and work? Are we ready for that? Or do we need to have help? Which is one of the reasons I want to move to California and be closer to my family because I know that I'll have some of the help there because I'm fortunate enough to have the parents that want to participate in that. So I don't know. These are all things that go through my head and it's so relevant because I was we were talking to Nina and it's here's a woman who quit her job with grace at an amazing company and has started a an absolutely beautiful, mind-blowing company that I think will significantly benefit the people that she is targeting when it fully launches. And she just like not only took the risk, but she's also figuring out like how to get through life. I mean, I don't know what are your thoughts, Meg? Where are you trying to find balance right now?
I mean, a lot of the things that you're talking about, like, I'm getting up there in my 30s. It's unfortunate that women tend to have, this like tick-tocking clock at a certain age, especially when you find someone that you want to spend the rest of your life with. And you're like, God. Like for me, the biggest decision I've made over the past year is moving to Chicago, which is happening in either June or July. The negotiations are on the table. Yes, that's between Taylor and I. Negotiations. That's my whole relationship.
Taylor, it's now
beautiful.
recorded.
Oh, he knows. We found a place, we think. I'll send it to you. But anyway, it's always kind of the next thing. And I think you said it so beautifully. There's something that millennials are facing that I don't think any other generation has had to, is both spouses are typically working and typically like have careers and are having babies later in life. And you're like, well, I don't want to give up what I'm doing. I'm important. Well, I don't want to give up what I'm doing. I'm important. Of course you're important. You're important to me too. And so is your career. And so are our children. So how do we find that balance? That's more of kind of like long-term balance for me. Right now, it's more like getting into my new job, which I absolutely fucking love right now. Talk to me in 3 weeks. But, getting into my new job, establishing myself as an authority, establishing myself as an expert, but also open to willing and able to learn and grow, of course, because that's why I'm there. But then it's finding the balance of how do I get to yoga? And how do I continue to eat healthy and not drink too much? And I don't know about you, but I don't know. It ebbs and flows. It's either like I'm super healthy, but like I could do better at work, or I'm crushing it at work. And then everything else, like my pants are too fucking tight. You know what I mean?
Oh my God. I know that on such a deep level after traveling for the last 2 weeks. It is, you know, I think there's a point, and you and I have talked about this because we both talk about our body issues with each other fairly openly. And for me, I'm like, you know what? My partner loves my body. And at some point, I need to just cave and be like, I need to stop being so obsessive about what's going into my body, because honestly, it's kind of fun to crush at work. It sucks when you have to travel and like garbage in creates garbage body, if you will. But with the advent of athleisure becoming more and more common within the workplace.
Thank God.
Thank God. Okay. Which, to anyone that hasn't explored that arena, I encourage you to do so. If you are able to wear athleisure to the office, I found I discovered Lululemon outlets while I was in California with my family last week.
Oh my God. One word, joggers.
They look so good. They look good on everybody.
You can rock them. But you can rock them. You can rock them with tennis shoes. Believe it or not, you can rock them with heels. I've done it. It works. You can wear a fancier top fancier top. You can dress them up.
And for Zoom calls, it's perfect. It's perfect. Nobody needs to see your bottoms. Anyways, so I guess all of this is to say, I feel that on a deep level. I think it's tough because you have to give a little bit. And that's something that I am still exploring in terms of where we're going to give. Should we choose to do a child in the near future, or like over the course of the next several years, whatever the case may be, the question looming in my mind is what I'm going to give up in exchange for that, because something has to give, right? Like you can't live your life in the same manner once you have a kid. So those are all things that we're like discovering and working on together. And iterating is my current favorite word, because all I know is that I am continuously attempting to adapt and improve, because there's never going to be a perfect solution. I'm never going to be perfectly balanced. And at some point you have to be okay with that. Like the imbalance is just part of your life.
God, I think that's so poignant. It's like life is always moving forward. Like I took a yoga class the other day and the mantra was time. You would have loved it. And it was like, breathe in the future, breathe out the past. And I know people might laugh. I know you're going to laugh. I love him. He's amazing. You should come and take his class. But there's something so interesting about that in the way that how life is always moving forward, whether you're ready for it or not. And so finding balance, which yes, is this series of our podcast, is kind of an ever-flowing thing. You can never grasp it. You can never be like, oh, I'm perfectly balanced. Then you should be dead. Like,
well, and here's the thing, like anyone that says that their life is perfectly balanced, like I'm curious what they're doing to fit, a 29-hour day into 24 hours. Because I have never met someone that's like, I get enough sleep, I work to my fullest and don't have any work left at the end of the day. I get a workout in. I eat perfectly. My significant other feels completely fulfilled. My dogs get all of the attention that they need. My children get all of the attention that they need. Like I've never seen someone that is across the board like everything is perfect and no ball has dropped. Like you just can't juggle everything at once, and it's okay to be imperfect.
yes. I'm embracing that right now as you say it in real
Are you
time.
breathing in the future and exhaling the past, Megan?
Oh, fuck you. Yes.
Should we take a quick break
I
and
love
wrap
it.
this up?
Yeah, we should
All
take
right.
a break.
No.
Okay, here we are adding it up because our structure is amazing. Okay, this is my proposal to you. So each one of our lovely heroines that we talked to, we asked 4 questions in the series. And so we're, kind of adding up the series here, you and I on our podcast. I think we should answer the questions. What do you think?
Are you sure?
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to ask you the first one then. What is some advice you'd give a woman who is having a baby and trying to tell their boss they are pregnant?
Okay. I am summoning Dr.
And I
G.
said woman, by the way. I
Ready?
mean anyone. So go ahead.
Yes. Anyone, they're going to have a baby. Okay. Summoning Dr. G. When you have this conversation, by the way, after we talked to Dr. G, I actually ended up quitting my job, which I was going to do anyway. But I used her advice and I actually wrote it down in like one of my notes on my phone. And I think the structure is the same here. She talked about leading with, I'm so excited to tell you the news I have to tell you. Because you're leading with positivity. And then you start to break down, you let them know the news. I'm having a child. Therefore, I will be going on paternity or maternity leave. And then you start to break down the fears that you think they might have. I will be completely prepared before I leave. I have a plan put together and I'll be back. But I'm so excited that I'm able to take this time to spend growing my family and that I have the support of my work to come back to. Like to me, yes, that's like perfect world scenario. But I think if you are headed into a situation like that, I think you take the skills that Dr. G told us in that framework. You take on the notion of the lovely Denise Scholl of leading with your gut and leaning into the emotional side of things and being confident in your decision. And then you try to have it all, right? So you shouldn't care what they're going to say. Of course you will. But if you can lead, I think, with that structure in mind, you probably will get the best results.
I love that. And I think it really resonated with me. It also, by the way, sounded perfectly constructed. Like you may or may not have that saved somewhere on your phone. Like in preparation, I saw the brow raise. In preparation for if and when that happens, right? When you decide, if you decide to have children in the future. I don't know that I would tweak anything that you said aside from us being who we are. I think the only other thing from my mentality perspective when I'm walking in that door, I would probably have, a multi-layered timeline that says, here are all of the tasks that I currently complete. These are the people that are going to bootstrap that for me during that time if there's an emergency. Like, I guess because I would want as a future mother to be able to really enjoy my time with my child. I also fully understand that no one can fully replace you at your job if you're dispersing the tasks across the board, right? So my other thought is like having mild availability so that you can be like, there's still like coaching that can be available here. Like, because I don't know. I guess my pushback on all of this is like fully unplugging if you are a leader is super important when you're going on vacation. But like for a maternity leave, my thought would be like you have some form of a plan for everyone to take on your tasks, but you're also not just a task person, right? You're also a leader. So I would probably, for me personally, I would have check-ins like once a month where I like let people come in, ask a bunch of questions, and then still give them the guidance and the coaching that they probably want and need. But I still don't think that deducts from my maternity leave in any way, shape, or form. Because the sleep is important and the dedication to your child is important. But yeah, but I think that that's separate from if you're taking a maternity leave and you don't necessarily have employees that are rolling up to you. I think those are two different ideas, right? If you don't have people that look up to you and that you're mentoring and that you're working with, I think that's different than going through a maternity leave where you're taking a prolonged period of time off and people probably still need your help. So that's something I've been thinking about and pulling apart a lot. And it's like, what is the perfect maternity leave? I think there's flexibility there and there is some necessity for people, whether you're in the C-suite or in some form of leadership, to not be I'm not saying be unplugged when you need to be unplugged, but to plug back in periodically to make sure that everyone feels supported. Do you hate that? It's a little controversial.
I hate a little. Yeah, I hate a little that you're like, well, I'll check in. You're like conceding to their fears of like, now you're gone for 3 months. But that's also your family. So you've got to dedicate all of that time just like you would dedicate 3 months of work to work.
I 100% am not saying that I wouldn't do either. Like, I think that there is still importance to like me pushing forward. But because here's the thing, you can prepare people for when you're leaving and give them everything that they need. But at the same time, when you let them sail on their own with whatever aspect of your work that you're letting them do, there is still coaching that needs to happen that has nothing to do with your actual job or the tasks, right? Like there is a periodic touch base that I still think is important. There is like check, and honestly, it's like an informal thing that I do with the people that I am currently mentoring. It's not like I'm sitting there and telling them A, how to do their job, or B, how to do anything that's even correlated to work. It's usually just like how to be a better person. And that's a check-in point, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, okay, I hear you. That's something you really admire and you don't want to give up. You're like, yes, I'm going on maternity leave, but these are the things I will continue to do because they matter to me. Like, I want to keep the lights on here because that really matters. Like, you know, I think after 2 months of having a baby, you probably want to talk to adults.
Yeah.
Anyway. So being like, yeah, like I love being a mentor. That is part of my persona. That is who I am. And I will continue that. So that's fair.
And it's
Okay.
not like it's
You
not
win.
like work or it's not directly work related, right? It's like it's a check-in to people to say, hey, do you have anything you need to talk about? Because I need to check in with people as a human too, right? So yeah,
Right.
and
That's so fair.
therein lies that is
Okay.
leadership advice. If you are a leader and you are taking some type of leave, there's still like a human aspect, a humanizing aspect, as Megan McShane would say, that is important. Okay, so jumping to the next question, Meg. Negotiating initial salary at a new job. Spill the beans.
Ugh, okay. This is like your specialty. You go for it. Answer your own question.
I don't know that I want to. Okay, so if I was negotiating salary at a new job, the first response, the initial offer, and I'm going to say this across the freaking board, everyone that is listening to this, please listen carefully. That first offer is never the final offer. Do not accept the first. I will be so mad at you. This is me telling you as your friend listening to this podcast. I will be so mad if you accept your initial offer. It is never the final offer, ever. There's always money left on the table if you just accept it right away. If you are if you are so insecure that you cannot negotiate, my response would be turn to them and say, is there anything else you can do? Okay. And that is, I'm not comfortable negotiating. I'm not comfortable going back to them. I don't know how to do this, blah, 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 blah. Like, if you have any excuse in your brain that you're too uncomfortable to do it, that is my recommended response. Is there anything else you guys can do? I'm really excited about this job. The second response, and this is for people that are ready to negotiate, do the homework, find somebody that might be in that industry, find other people that work at that company, find anything that you can that will give you related market data points. We have a mutual friend, Megan, our girlfriend, Lauren. Shout out to Lauren if she's listening to this podcast episode. I love you and I miss you. But she and I had a mutual that ended up applying, and she ended up pinging me for, what goes on at your company? Are you guys market? Blah, blah, blah. Like those kind of conversations are so critical to making sure that you're A, negotiating correctly, and B, doing your market research. If you come back to the table, let's say I'm hiring for, which I'm currently hiring. So if anybody's listening to this, I'm currently hiring, please check out our job board. But if you come back to me and you say, based on A, B, C, D, E, F, and G market data points that I found, here's a salary that I'm comfortable with. I know that this is what you offered me, but this is what I think I'm worth. If you can validate that, 99% of the time, somebody's going to say yes. They have a band that they're required to work within, but I guarantee you, if you come back and you can articulate why you're worth whatever dollar amount more, it will always happen. But you have to have market data. I've also had people come back to me that are 2 years deep in their career and they pull numbers out of their ass. That's the other side of it, right? There's two sides to the negotiation. You have to do the market research, find as many people as you can that will negotiate it with you. And then I'm going to come up with a number because I think this number sounds good. So, so that would be my thing. And by the way, with every negotiation, so if you're a real stickler, you get 2 no's. You can come back with one more response. So if you send one response out, so if you send a response out, if they send you, here's your initial offer, and then you say, this is what I'd like, and they come back slightly underneath that, you can push back and be like, if there's anything else on the table, then I'm leaving. Whatever, however you want to respond to it. But even if you nudge $2,000 to $5,000, chances are you will get it. Or by the way, they'll say no, but they'll still send you an offer. So if a company is super interested in you and they're giving you a response back to negotiate, just know that it's okay to negotiate twice. That's the other thing. There's still a tiny amount of money usually left on the table after they respond to you. So 2 no's, and I learned this working at a car wash. 2 no's, and then it's final. You got to take the second no. You get the final offer. That's after you get 2 no's, that is your offer. That is the end. You cannot go back for a third time. You will have egg on your face. But that is what I will say. But again, I want to go back to my first point. If you do not negotiate on that initial offer, I am mad at you.
Okay, I'm going to be totally white girl here for a second. So I was watching Sex and the City earlier today. Do you remember that episode where Charlotte was trying to become Jewish? And she had to knock on the door of the rabbi's place, and he said no and slammed the door in her face. And then she went back, and then she started crying, and she went to her husband, and he was like, no, you get 3. You're refused 3 times. And on the 3rd time, if they refuse you, they really mean it. But the first one, it's fine. It's table stakes. Go back a 2nd time. It shows persistence. And then you go back a 3rd and they let her in.
Yeah. But however, I just wouldn't recommend going 3 times. I feel like that's
I'm not 3rd. I mean, except the 2nd. Whatever. That's what it made me think of. It's great advice, and I totally ruined it. Okay, last one.
And it correlates back to what a lot of our women probably pay attention to. But yeah, okay, I hear you. Sorry. Wait, so you're not going to answer the negotiation question? Did you have any feedback on that outside of Sex and the City?
No. I mean, I come to you for all that advice. So you're kind of like my
Oh.
go-to. So anything you say, I usually take.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
But I think, yeah, but also like stemming from some of our heroines or interviewees, right? Denise, lead with your gut. You know what your
Yep.
worth is. You're confident. You're not
Yep.
arrogant. This is who
Yep.
you are. And you need to lead with that. And there's been so many times that women don't talk about how much money they make. And then they find out that men that are in the same position as them make 3 times as much and they do more work. What? So I think being open, honest, and money forward is the best advice you could give anybody. And like, you know your worth. And your worth is also your time.
but also, and I want to bounce on that because I have a girlfriend, Abby, who's in Seattle, that I absolutely admire. And I know that at some point she'll listen to this episode. So Abby, hi, I love you. Sharing your salary is okay. And it's something that more women need to do. Men share their salaries with each other. Like, it's okay to share your salary. And the more that we do that and the more comfortable that we get talking about it, the less A, competitive we'll be, and B, the more likely we'll find out how underpaid we are. Like, if you need help figuring out where you should be like asking for a promotion or where you need to be pushing to make more money, the quickest way to do that is to ask other women that are doing things similar to you or that are within your industry, what should I be making? How much are you making? Here's what I'm making. Like, if you lay that out on the table, so many other women will come forward and be like, this is what I'm making. Does this make sense?
Right. No, and I've used that advice that you've given me. And I've been more and more vocal about it. And like, some people are like, that's so gauche. How dare you talk about money? But I'm like, I've had conversations with really good girlfriends at dinner where they were like, what do you make? And I'm like, this is what I make. And they're like, oh, I do the same thing and I make $20,000 less. I'm like, what?
Doesn't it kill you?
Like, it kills me. But thank God we had that conversation. You know what I mean? I'm like, you got to go talk to your boss. Like, this is fucked.
Dude, and that is like, and by the way, there are tools that are available that we should start posting online more often where you can go search for salary and you can figure out what other people are making that are correlated to you. None of those tools are perfect. None of those tools are going to give you exactly what you need. But if we start getting more comfortable with sharing that information, I genuinely believe A, the wage gap will be closed, and B, that we will start achieving greater and greater things because we will start being paid what we need to be paid and what we deserve. So I am like, to anyone that's listening, it is not gauche to talk about your salary. If you are being told that, that is a patriarchal ideology. That is not something that you need to adhere to. It is not gauche to talk about how much money you make. Like, open that door and start that conversation because I promise you what you will discover is an educational aspect that other people have been dying to continue to like discuss.
Oh, so good. That might be one of the most enlightened things that this podcast has taught me personally over the past year, to tell you the truth, is just to be more vocal and open and honest as I am about everything else except money. Oh God. So obviously these 3 episodes really taught us a lot. Let's be real. Have we found balance? No. Will we continue to work on it? Freaking absolutely. Absolutely.
Absolutely. I'm with you, girl. I'm with you.
Oh, I know. Should you make mention of our next series?
Do I mean, okay, so I feel like this next series is where we start to get a little personal. So to everybody listening, just be forewarned, I may or may not cry during some of these episodes. So we're going to talk about life stages. We're going to talk about marriage. We're going to talk about babies. We're going to talk about all of the things that affect our lives, like the inflection points that are not necessarily work related.
What?
I feel like that's a good point. Like this is the right moment to wrap it up. So should we wrap it up, Meg?
Yeah, this is perfect. This has been fun.
Gosh, I love you.
I love you.